Hey, folks, this is Jim Horn with another Travers Talks. And today we're going to be talking with Laura Ness. She is a candidate for the Traverse City Commission. Currently, Laura chairs the Traverse City Garfield Township Joint Recreation Authority Board and is president and co-founder of Preserve Hickory, a nonprofit that raised funds to overhaul city-owned ski park, Hickory Hills. So let's get with it and talk to Laura. Okay, Laura, it's great to have you on the program. I was telling Laura it's good to get the candidates on. You can't believe how difficult it is to get candidates on a podcast to talk about themselves. I'm always amazed. I've reached out to all the candidates, and Laura came on very quickly. She said, "Hey, I'd love to be on the podcast." And I thought, hey, that's really great. So the people that normally don't read the newspapers or listen to the radio or the TV, they can listen to Laura up front and find out a little bit more about her. Anyway, Laura, it's great to have you on the program.
Thanks, Jim. I'm excited to be here. And, my entire campaign has been based on listening. And so this is kind of the opposite because you're going to have to listen to me talk. And it's, I'm not going to be getting a lot of information, but hopefully I can convey some of the issues and the knowledge that I've learned over the last several months in listening to neighbors and neighborhood associations and city residents and business leaders and community leaders about what issues face Traverse City and what are the big issues facing the next city commission. So I appreciate you having me on.
So I always consider it a big deal when somebody decides to get into a political campaign or run for office. To me, that's like stepping off the curb big time. So
yeah.
Give me an idea why you're running. Give the folks an idea of, what made you, want to do this.
Yeah, well, 100% on the running for office. It's a big step, and it's not really something that I ever necessarily saw in my future. But I've lived here in Traverse City for just over 25 years. It's my home. I'm a resident of the Slabtown neighborhood. I'm proud to call Traverse City my home. I love this city. I've been really involved for the last 25 years with public service, civic engagement, supporting our schools, our parks, our nonprofits. And it's just kind of a natural step for me as I look at what the significant issues are that are facing the city and the next city government. I don't think I'm exaggerating to say that the decisions made by the next city commission will be generational in their consequence. We have some big, big challenges to tackle. And with that, I think our city commission needs thoughtful leadership. They need people that are familiar with the city and familiar with the issues so that they can tackle those challenges. And I think I have a strong history in this community. And when it's time, I'd be happy to tell you a little bit more about what I've been involved in, but that's basically why I'm running. I think that I've got a good common sense approach. I've demonstrated my ability to lead in this community. I've delivered results for this community, and I think it's time for me to serve on the city commission, serve the community in a new way.
When I look at some of the issues facing Traverse City, a lot of big cities, small cities face a lot of the same issues. What do you see as maybe the top two issues that you think that really are important to Traverse City? As you mentioned, there are generational issues, and they probably are.
Yeah. Well, I think, Jim, it's interesting that you recognize how many cities are facing significant challenges. And in some respects, Traverse City, although it's a small town, we're starting to face some more big city issues. We have a significant issue to address with respect to housing affordability and attainability. We have to be able to find affordable housing for the people who work here. They should be able to live here, right? Our firefighters, our nurses, our teachers, our police officers, our service workers. Right now, we have a housing gap of about 11,000 houses. We have a rental occupancy rate in excess of 99%. That's not sustainable. So that is I think one of the key issues that we have to challenge, or challenges that we have to tackle with respect to city commission and the policies that we can set. Also, I think we have a real need to address our infrastructure. Traverse City is growing, and we need our infrastructure to catch up with that growth. And I think that city commission plays a real role with that. And then, lastly, like I said, we've got big city issues facing our small town. And one of the most special parts, I think, about Traverse City is our neighborhoods and our diverse neighborhoods. And I think there's a real opportunity for the next city commission to kind of protect that lifestyle that we've all become used to.
You're talking about the neighborhood associations. I think we've got, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, neighborhood associations. We have historic neighborhoods. We have newer neighborhoods. Neighborhoods really are the heart of Traverse City. It's where people raise their families. It's where they start their businesses. Neighborhoods are where you look out for one another. And I think, looking at ways that we can preserve the charm and character of our neighborhoods it's important.
Yeah, I just finished the weekly news podcast, and I was surprised to see, going back to the issue on home affordability, the median price now of a home in Traverse City is $440,000.
Yeah.
It's really good. So, do we build more apartments in neighborhoods? I know sometimes we have the NIMBY issue, not in my backyard kind of thing, and we're all familiar with that, and I think we all understand that, and we're also familiar with regulations that prevent building in some locations for whatever reason, environmental. And I'm not suggesting we strip away environmental regulations, but there are a lot of things that stop us from getting to the affordable housing that we really need. Any thoughts on that? What we might be able to do in the future? And I know that's sort of a big problem, but
yeah, it's a big problem. And it's a big question. But Jim, I really appreciated the way that you framed that. And you indicated the average sale price of a home, and earlier I mentioned we've got this gap of about 11,000 units, and I think it's really important to understand that the housing shortage and housing affordability, it isn't just a Traverse City issue, it's a regional issue. It's not one that the city can solve alone. It's not one that the 7 city commissioners sitting on the dais every few weeks are going to be able to solve alone. But I sure think that the city can help lead that effort. I definitely support more housing options, both in the city and across the region. Within Traverse City, I think what we're seeing in terms of the increasing price and the cost of housing is we have limited land and rising costs. So we can't control the lumber and the labor prices that are kind of contributing to some of the newer construction. And our footprint in Traverse City is just over 8 square miles, right? It's tiny. So there's not a ton of available land, and that's making it expensive. But what the city commission can do is we can address the laws. We can address zoning issues, zoning reform, and land use policies. And I think that I've got some kind of broad ideas of how we can start to tackle some of these issues. One is we can start to reimagine our underutilized corridors like 14th Street and 8th Street and Division, where we have existing infrastructure, but we have outdated zoning. I think we can do a better job of utilizing all of the new tools and innovative acts that are available through the state, like workforce housing TIFs, like the Michigan Attainable Housing Facilities Act. Those can help incentivize affordable development. I'd like to see us continue to provide incentives to developers through programs like the pilot program. I think Traverse City is just kind of starting to seek more creative funding plans like the CDBG program that on last Monday evening, a couple nights ago, they allocated about $360,000 more towards some of these housing efforts. And all of that, I think, has to occur within a model of regional partnerships, right? We can't, like I said, we can't solve this alone, but I think bringing people to the table, whether it's surrounding townships, the county, nonprofit agencies. There's a lot of people working on this issue. And I think as long as we're not operating in silos and we can bring people together through partnership and collaboration, I really think we can start to make some headway on this very complicated issue.
Yeah, the other complicated issue you mentioned is infrastructure. I was watching the Traverse City Commission meeting on Monday. Chris Weber was up there. He's one of the road guys. I love the road because they have an unbelievably tough job.
Yeah, and Chris did a great job. I know, it was long, but the explanation was fascinating, and I was so grateful for his perspective and his knowledge.
Yeah, it seems like there are he brought forth there's some new equipment apparently on that they used on 14th which I like to think of as, I'm dating myself, but I like to think of that as the Ho Chi Minh Trail.
Yeah.
Nothing but bombed out. It's terrible.
Yeah, it can be tough to navigate, right?
You're not kidding. So what do you think going forward on the infrastructure thing? I mean, it costs a lot of money nowadays to not only, chip seal some of these roads, but if you really, get down and like they're doing on 11th, where they're stripping out the whole road there, that's extremely expensive. What are your thoughts about, the possible, funding sources for some of those issues?
Yeah, I think that, clearly the city needs to start looking at creative ways to finance some of these infrastructure projects. So the city, just within our 8.6 square miles, we have 80 miles of local and major streets. We have 7 miles of MDOT-controlled state highways, 23 miles of alleys, and 99 miles of sidewalks, right? That's a lot to maintain. And I think for a while, we got a little behind on maintaining all of these streets, roads, and sidewalks. And we're starting to play catch up now, which I think is important. I think the city has done an okay job of looking at creative funding sources for all of these. But I do think there's an opportunity now to start looking more regionally. And are there some opportunities within the region to fund some of these infrastructure needs? Maybe that's creating new TIF districts. Maybe that's looking at partnerships with, some of our state agencies and looking at grants that are available. I think we do need to identify funding sources for these infrastructure needs. And there's a lot of different ideas. I think once we have a new commission in place, we'll be able to share, and find out different individuals' perspectives on these. But stormwater is also a big issue that we have. We have a stormwater plan that was presented in 2017. Some of it has been acted upon, but there's definitely a need to update that plan and look at what are our stormwater needs in terms of managing stormwater moving forward. You said you're a climate refugee. Well, we are certainly seeing even up here more and more of these 100-year storms. Wisconsin just had a 1,000-year storm. And, that type of significant water can cause problems for our water quality. And I think we need to consider whether or not there's some different ways other than just the general fund to pay for these infrastructure needs, because the entire region uses our roads and the entire region benefits from our water quality. And so I think that is definitely something that this new city commission is going to have to look at.
Yeah, you mentioned the storms. I just put a generator in the other day. I thought I'd never put a generator in my nearby house just in case, after I found out about I was told about how bad all the ice storms were out in Petoskey and in Cadillac and all those other places. So wrapping up, Laura, what do you want? The person is standing by the ballot box, or they've got their ballot in the mail. What do you want them to think about? And as far as voting for, Laura Ness for the city commission?
Well, it's kind of like, why am I the best candidate? I think what sets me apart from all of the other candidates is my experience in leadership in this community. As I mentioned, I have supported our parks, our schools. I co-founded Preserve Hickory, raised over $5 million to improve Hickory Hills when there was a real need. that city commission in 2010 was actually looking at closing one of our biggest, most loved parks. And so rolled up my sleeves and got involved, and it's thriving today. I'm chair of the Joint Rec Authority. I've worked to protect over 240 acres of public parkland. I've stewarded projects at Historic Barnes Park, the Botanic Garden. I co-chaired a school millage to raise $100 million for TCAP students. I'm on the Great Lakes Sports Commission. My favorite volunteer activity was when I was the track coach at Central Grade School with 106 kids on my team, and I'm not a runner. But I think, I've had experience. I've led complex projects across jurisdictions. I've built public-private partnerships like those at Hickory Hills and through the Joint Rec Authority. And I understand the systems after 25 years of being involved in this community of how we need to align to get results. My professional background is that of hospital administration. I was a vice president of strategic planning and business development. I have a strong understanding of the difference between governance and management. And that's really important for city commissioners to understand. I know how to get things done, even on the most complex of issues. And I think because I've been in this community for over 25 years, I've earned the trust and the respect of many across the community, whether it's business leaders or my neighbors or community leaders. They know that I'm going to deliver results, and I'm excited. I hope I get elected. I'm going to bring practical, real results to this community.
Well, I certainly wish you a lot of luck. I thank you for coming on the podcast. It gives our constituents in Traverse City an opportunity to listen to a candidate, their views, not only for today, but for the future. I appreciate you coming on, Laura. That was really, really great.
It was nice to meet you, Jim.
Same here, kiddo.
All right. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.